We'll continue from where we stopped in the last video. For the table of contents, we have the title page, the certification of thesis, dissertation, or project on plagiarism, dedication, acknowledgement, the abstract, and then table of contents. These are all in Roman numerals. Then the list of symbols, list of abbreviations, list of figures, the list of tables. Then chapter 1, there we have the numeric numbers. That's 1 to, let's assume one, it could be 1 to 30 or 20 or 25 or 15. Then we have chapter 2 being the literature review, then the page numbers, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, references and indices. Now, let's look at the list of symbols. So this session includes all the math type symbols and their meaning or meanings. It could look something like this. Let's assume this means the approximation of the inverse Hessian matrix, where H is the channel gain and the number of subcarriers and so on. So here, the symbols should be those listed in your report or in the report, okay? And then we have list of abbreviations. The abbreviations or acronyms are used in the report. So this session contains a list of acronyms used in the report and should be arranged in dictionary alphabetical order. Say ADC, analog to digital converter. After A, we have the B, that's BR, bit error rate, CAP, carrierless amplitude and phase, then FDD, frequency division duplex. Now for this list to be here, then it means these acronyms must have been used in the report. HSPA, high-speed packet access. Then the list of figures. So this section contains the list of figures presented in the report. Okay. And we know that the figures are usually listed based on the chapter number. So seeing 2.1 here, I know that's the first figure in chapter 2. And 3.1, that's the first figure in chapter 3. And the page numbers on and on. 4.1 is figure 4.1 is the first figure in chapter 4 all the way. Then we also have list of tables. This section contains a list of tables presented in the report, and they are usually numbered based on the chapter numbers. So seeing table 2.1, I know that table must be in chapter 2. 3.1 and so on. Then chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the introduction. So this chapter provides a general overview and a roadmap for the study. It is the proposal, okay? And it includes the background of the study, usually 1.1, the 1.0, the statement of the problem, the aim and objectives of the study, the methodology, the scope of the study, the significance of the study, the research questions or hypothesis, and the outline of the thesis, dissertation, or project. So when we talk about the background of the study, this is an overview of the subject matter. So the student is assumed to have a working knowledge of the study, as relevant literature will have to be cited at this stage. So here's a hint. You may want to begin by describing the wider aspect and then narrow down to the particular aspect being investigated. Okay, so you want to provide a general overview. Let's assume, okay, I intend to write on probably the investigation and modeling of wireless channel for high throughput applications in visible light spectrum. So I could begin my background to the study like say wireless communication evolution with the Internet of Things and smart technologies at the center has become the mainstay for global technological concerns in both academia and the industry. Techno-economic indicators will depend on on the eventual flawless deployment of these initiatives. The need for entity or device integration through the use of sensors, actuators, and controllers demand an excellent performing wireless communication infrastructure. Despite performance efficiency, the intercommunication or connection of numerous wireless sensors will require an optimal high throughput communication technique that will prefer high speed data transmission processes. Recall that I'm trying to work on high throughput systems. So the ideology behind the Internet of Things will bring about the storage of large amount of data, which will be processed and at some point transmitted over over the communication channel. The exact intellectual tenacity behind big data or future innovations for large data analytics will be a futile engagement if the said data cannot be intelligently processed, transmitted, efficiently reconstructed, and recovered with minimum probability of error within the shortest possible time. Then you could provide some citations. Say Iwaza et al. 2016, Iwaza et al. 2020. So according to Mayika et al. 2013, IoT is envisioned to interconnect things, everything ranging from home automation to the general environment research entities as pieces of furniture, gadgets, devices, cars by 2025. This, as a matter of urgency, proposes the building of intelligence into objects, thereby making them smart. And then we could go on and on and on and on, and then come to probably, let's say, the last paragraph or statement now. Then having talked about quite a number of things now, we now have to talk about visible light and all of that. Then when I say this research work is to investigate possible means of improving the wireless channel performance by modeling a suitable technique for visible light communication as an emerging technology. So you're more like, okay, describing the wider aspect, and you narrow down to the particular aspect because we're talking about visible light here. So I made my last paragraph here, strictly based on visible light. Say visible light frequency spectrum is a complementary band to the overutilized, congested, and consequently exhausted radio frequency spectrum. And it is a means to the capacity growth of the existing wireless communication network. The spectrum is characterized by large frequency bandwidth spanning the range of 430 terahertz to 790 terahertz of the electromagnetic wave spectrum, and as such has the potentials for high throughput transmission. I'll provide a citation, probably as I told 2020. Despite these merits, the nature of the frequency band requires some level of innovation in signal processing, as techniques suitable for radio frequency design do not apply directly. This is so because visible light signals have to be intensity modulated on transmission and directly detected on reception, thereby placing a limit on signal processing. This limit is partly surmounted by achieving a non-negative revalued unipolar signal, contrary to the complex valued bipolar signal process for radio frequency spectrum applications. Save as I taught 2020. Now, this research work is to investigate possible means of improving the wireless channel performance by modeling a suitable technique for visible light communication as an emerging technology. That's about it. So we move from the wider aspect and we narrow down to the particular aspect being investigated. Okay. And then you should note that every statement of fact must be supported by citing relevant sources in the literature, preferably journal articles and conference papers within the last 5 to 10 years. So the statement of the problem, this is what you intend to investigate. That is the problem, okay? And it will be necessary to justify the need for assuming the concept under investigation as a researchable problem. This has to do with why you think it is a problem. So you have to document that. Also document previous attempts made to solve the problem and the possible gaps such attempts may have left. And then you cite some relevant sources. Then state the possible gaps you intend to bridge in attempting a solution. What will be the relevance of that solution? So it is to be noted that you cannot solve all the problems. So you must ensure you narrow down your quest. Okay? So know that every statement of fact must also be supported by citing relevant sources in the literature. And we are looking at journals, conference papers, within the last 5 to 10 years. Then the aim and objectives of the study. Now, the aim is usually the goal you intend to achieve by the end or at the end of the investigation. Okay, so the research title should suggest that singular aim, just one aim. Then the objectives are the specific roadmaps to the aim, how you want to achieve the aim. Those are the objectives. So the objectives are the things that must be done to achieve the specific aim. So while the aim describes what you intend to achieve, the objectives tells how you intend to achieve it. So know that the aim and objectives must be bullet-pointed sentences and should not be too broad. Then the methodology. This is the systematic approach required to carry out the objectives. So should I have 3 objectives, then I should have 3 lines of methodology. Okay? In this session, the methodology should be bullet-pointed as well, such that each point applies to each objective. So the methodology usually consists of materials and methods. Note that methodology could be qualitative because the qualitative technique studies behavioral patterns, opinions, and how people think. Examples are observations, interviews, administering questionnaires, and the likes, which is usually a major tool in the humanities. But in the applied sciences, we are more tilted towards the quantitative approach, which provides a numerical or statistical measurable data. So we have experimental research, okay? You want to design or prototype a particular idea, or better still, you want to set up an experiment to come up with some findings. Then we also have the mixed method, which combines the features of qualitative and quantitative methods. So the materials has to do with the relevant tools, setup, the test bed, population, sample space, and so on, utilized for the study. While the method describes how you intend to conduct a research, which could be by administering questionnaire, observational study, it could be interviews, it could be use of secondary data, it could be use of a particular numerical method, it could be by the use of a particular mathematical optimization model. Okay, so and then the scope of the study, you possibly cannot solve all the problems in your chosen study area. So this aims at streamlining the research work to a specific aspect of the problem. And then we have the significance of the study. Here you want to mention the relevance of the study. You want to tell why the study is being conducted. What is the impact of the study? Probably local, national, global impact. And then we have the research questions or hypothesis. Now, a research question is one that does not make any assumption or claim. Rather, it strives to investigate or clarify an aspect of the study. An example is, does transient disturbance influence the response of the dynamic system? So here you see we are not making any assumptions. We just want to investigate, or better say clarify, this aspect of the study. We want to check if transient disturbances influence the response of dynamic systems. But the hypothesis is an assertion that suggests a potential connection between variables or phenomena. on the basis of theory, observation, or current knowledge. So let's say, as an example, a dynamic system that experiences transient disturbance has a higher probability of breaking down than one that does not. So you can see we're trying to pull a connection between variables based on observations or current knowledge, or better say based on specific theories. And so we are making an assertion here. But for research question, we are not making any assertion or assumption. We just pull off a particular question because we want to clarify. But for your hypothesis, we want to prove or want to validate or invalidate that particular assertion. Okay, so the outline of the thesis, this tells what each chapter is all about. So chapter 1 is on this, chapter 2 is on this. Well, for some, in some institutions, since that's already in chapter 1, you just go on to tell what is in chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. Why for some others, but you include chapter 1 to the last chapter. Okay, now chapter 2, literature review. This is the documentation of the summary of earlier study in the chosen research area. It should be written in your own words so that details or facts are not distorted, and the originator or originators must be duly acknowledged by use of relevant citations and reference. So in other words, if, for instance, I intend to write, Ade is a boy. Now, probably that was written by Ade, 2023. Now, I don't have to write Ade is a boy, because that will be plagiarizing. I now need to paraphrase. Probably I'll say, the boy is Ade. But the originator is Ade 2023. So I have to cite Ade 2023 after writing the boy is Ade, because I only paraphrased what was written before without necessarily distorting the details, but the originator has to be acknowledged, or must be acknowledged. So this session does not have any particular structure, and as such relies on the ingenuity of the author. So one way to organize your literature review is to ensure you present the theoretical basis of the study from a more general perspective to specifics, while detailing the existing problems, methodologies used, and causes and effects. Right? In other words, you want to conduct a gap analysis in that study area. So the contributions of previous researchers may be tabulated based on common components to enhance the organization of the review. So a session in the review should be dedicated to related work, where gap analysis is conducted relative to the chosen topic in a chronological order. Say, according to Jake's 2017, XYZ was done using so and so method, but they were unable to achieve so performance. So in Ziegler 2019, the system was improved upon, and XYZ method was used, and so performance was achieved. But so and so was not considered. But in 2020, Thomas et al., 2020, conducted so and so research, looking into so and so method, and probably used a hybrid method to achieve so and so, but then left so and so gap. Now you have conducting a gap analysis in a chronological order, and then this has to be done till you get to the point where you now say, well, this is what I want to do now. Being that over 10, 20, or 15 or 30 researchers had looked into this area and they were able to make their contributions, but, well, they have also left some gaps. And among the gaps that they have left, I intend to solve this particular one. I intend to bridge this particular gap. Okay, so this gap analysis should include what was done, how it was done, the improvement or shortfall in the adopted approach, and then what subsequent authors may have done to improve upon the previous advances. This gap analysis should present sufficient details till the exact gap you intend to bridge in the study is mentioned. Another session has to be dedicated to future work. This follows directly from your understanding of the problems, materials, and methods in the study area, and therefore serves as a forecast for future study by other researchers. And another interesting way to help organize your literature review is to ensure the thematic areas covered in your objectives are described exhaustively in the literature review. Okay? Bearing in mind that you must conduct gap analysis, okay, by putting up tables of comparison, coming up with diagrams, pictures, and all of that to buttress your assertion. So note that in reviewing the literature, you are the critic. You must ensure the reliability of your findings while reporting details found in the literature. Ensure you use relevant references while critiquing findings in the literature. Ensure you paraphrase before documenting your findings. So long the paraphrased content is not your original idea, due acknowledgement must be given to the originator by citing the sources that apply. Avoid plagiarism and self-plagiarism. Avoid the use of paraphrasing tools due to AI capture, that's artificial intelligence capture. They may help in guiding your thought, but ensure you don't put forward what the AI systems must have generated for you. So in other words, the hallmark here is be original. Methodology. That's chapter 3. Now, this provides the systematic approach used in addressing the research problem. In this session, the approach used in answering the research question or questions or hypotheses is documented in details. This has to do with the method used for data gathering and analysis. So depending on the chosen methodology, be it qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method, a detailed presentation of the formulation of the novel procedure must be documented. Note that when previously published methodologies are mentioned, they should be cited and not provided in detail. In applied sciences, we often adopt the quantitative approach. So hence, mathematical formulations of the adopted methodology becomes necessary. So as a rule of thumb, in mathematical modeling, the chosen strategy differential equations becomes handy. Hence, you solve some differential equations and you're done. Do note that other relevant mathematical formulations may be derived accordingly. The beauty of your preferred methodology is to be able to formulate its mathematical equivalence, which is pivotal in algorithmic design and development. Once the mathematical basis has been established, deduce the pseudocode or flowchart of the ensuing algorithm. Depending on your programming language preferences, the algorithm may be coded to achieve the anticipated result or results. This is also necessary for prototype. So the result and discussion session. This session provides the analysis and interpretation of data or your findings. Usually tables, pictures, and images are used to present results in a concise manner. Discussion of the findings follows directly. Note that the discussion session is a way of critiquing your findings, and it should be interpreted. The weaknesses and strengths of your findings has to be documented in this session. Ensure numerical values are used while interpreting the results, since it helps in quantifying the findings. Now, the structure of this session should look like 4.1 results, 4.2 discussion, 4.3 findings. Note that the findings should be bullet pointed and should be equivalent to the number of objectives. This implies that each objective should engender a finding. Technically, the objectives must be measurable. Chapter 5, Conclusion and Recommendations. This session provides a summary of the study. It is different from the abstract. In the conclusion session, the objectives could be reaffirmed while detailing the strengths and weaknesses of the chosen methodology. The results, findings, and particular contributions are equally mentioned. In the recommendation session, possible ideas and research problems further to your study are presented. The recommendations may be bullet pointed. The structure of this session should look like 5.1 conclusion, 5.2 recommendation or recommendations, 5.3 contribution to knowledge. Note that the contribution to knowledge should be bullet pointed. In reporting your contributions, ensure you include the phrase "to the author's knowledge," since it cannot be ascertained at the time of the study if same had been asserted somewhere else in the world. The contribution to knowledge should follow directly from the results of the study. It is different from the findings. It details how the study has filled the knowledge gap. It is the significance of the findings of the study. So the references. This is a list of all the sources cited in the course of the study. Depending on the institution, the referencing style may vary. So we have IEEE, Vancouver, Harvard, APA, and so many others. So in the case of Harvard referencing style, author's name and year are used for citing the sources. For single authored article, you have something like AWR001, 2018. For two authors, we have, say, AWR001 and Adekobe 2023. Then when we have three authors or more, then we say AWR001 et al. 2023. Note that the references list is usually in alphabetical order. Now, if we consider Harvard references, for instance, the reference list will look like, for journal articles, so we have the surname of the first author and the abbreviation, say AWR001 A.E. comma or Orukpe, P.E. and Edeko, F.O 2020 in bracket, being the year of publication. Then the title of the article, High Capacity Data Rate System, Review of Visible Light Communications Technology, then the name of the journal, a severe journal of electronic science and technology, which is usually in slanted form. Then the volume 18, then the issue. Then should there be page number? Fine. But here they have identifier in a sepia, so then the DOI. Then it could also look something like this. It has an AE, Deco FO, and Orukpe PE 2020, a signal amplification based transceiver for visible light communication. Then the journal name, Journal of Engineering, University of Baghdad, volume 11, issue 26, page 123 to 132. Then we also have this where we have two authors, Ndujuba, C.U and AWR001, A.E 2016, Dynamic Differential Modulation of Subcarriers in OFDM. Then the journal name is Journal of Wireless Networking and Communication, volume 6, issue 11 or number 11, then page 21 to 28. Then when we have a book chapter, we have like AWR001 or P.E and Edeko F.O 2020, Li-Fi Prospect in Internet of Things Network in J. Caprice edit the edition or edited, then the edition here, then FICC 2020 Advances in Intelligent Systems and Computing, Springer Nature, Switzerland, AG Charm 1129, page 272 to 280. Then a conference paper, we have Ivaze E, Ajoses, O Atairo AAA, Dachaba FE 2016, Developing Smart Cities through Optimal Wireless Mobile Network, IEEE International Conference on Emerging Technologies and Innovation and Innovative Business Practices for the Transformation of Societies in Marketing, August 3rd to 6th, 2016, Balaclava, Mauritius, 1182-123. Then when we have a book, say it has a AE 2018 radio frequency network planning with microcell deployment, Bo Basin, Lambert academic publishing. So citing reference sources. So when the citation precedes the statement, we can say, according to Iwaza et al., 2021 in bracket, the trade-off between the energy and spectral efficiencies of the fixed conventional multi-carrier signal conditioning schemes is seen to severely impact on the system performance, something like that. So let's say I don't want to say according to, I would say based on Iwaza et al., then in bracket 2021, so and so, okay? So when the citation precedes the statement, then we put the year in bracket while the name, And then when the citation comes after the statement, say something like, considering the important parameters of the optical wave DM scheme, namely transmit power, throughput, bit error rate, and signal to noise ratio, it is imperative to optimize the scheme such that the throughput is maximized at low transmit power. Then Ivaze et al. 2020, meaning we have more than 3 authors here, but 3 to more authors here. Then let's assume this statement is cited, is seen in multiple publications, then we could put semicolon, the name of the other set of authors, and just like that. So appendices. So these are relevant resources that may impede the sequential flow of the report. So we don't want to include them in the main report. So, but they are usually cited. So while reading through the report, you say as shown or as can be seen in appendix. So maybe appendix A1, A.1, depending on how it is labeled. So resources such as the actual computer code, raw data, proof of theorems, maps, and so on may be placed in the session and labeled. Okay, I think this is a good place to stop. We hope to put through based on the follow-up comments on this first part of the academic writing series, and then we also intend to look into how to document your paper or your findings for publications, probably for conference paper presentation, maybe a poster, maybe a journal article for, and how to go through the review process, till acceptance and the like. So some of those interesting things we tend to look into in subsequent lectures. So for now, do have a great day and bye for now.